Welcome to the Inspired by Adventure podcast, bringing you the adventure across the airwaves.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Inspired by Adventure podcast. Today is our Cup of Joe with CEO version of these calls. And these are great for not only just our customers, but also our employees to get a little bit of updates on everything that's going on with everything to do with Aggressor Adventures. So how are you doing today, Wayne? I see you got your coffee.
Good. Thanks, Cole. I got my Cup of Joe ready to go.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get on into it. So let's start with talking about some of the new destinations or some of the destinations that have updates with what's going on with them.
You know, probably the two that are been in the news and the most requested information and updates from our guests have been the BVI Aggressor and the Cayman Aggressor.
Right.
So obviously, everybody knows all the issues through the pandemic with supplies and staff for services like mechanics and things.
Mm-hmm.
It has been the biggest struggle we ever had, but of course, we just continue to work through it. Good news is BVI Aggressor is on its maiden voyage this week. So finally, after almost a year of delays for mostly for parts and supplies, because we upgraded all the engines and some of the interior, it's up and running. All the dive operators and tour businesses and BVI are happy to have us there to further enhance the image of the BVI and all the great diving they have there.
Yeah, it does look like it's going to be a great destination for us. And we already know that one of our best liveaboards in the fleet, the formerly known as the Cayman Aggressor 5, is now moved over to the BVI Aggressor. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we originally had worked with the Cayman and government and the shipping registry there, and they had approved everything for the vessel. It got there. People had changed. Things had changed in the government. They are managed by the UK, and some other people came over, and new people have new rules, and they were not happy with the length of the vessel because it was a little bit longer than the Cayman 4.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some issues with getting marine park permits. So we've been looking at the BVI anyway, so we made a decision to put it there because originally the Cayman 4 was going into a complete remodel,
right,
and would be going to the BVI. So we just swapped the vessels. Not a huge task, and it worked out just fine because Cayman had some really strict COVID protocols that were keeping tourists away.
Right.
So was really worth the switch anyway to get it over to BVI and get it start operating.
It sounds like a win-win for both destinations.
Yeah, absolutely. Because now the Cayman 4 is almost complete on its remodel. Now we took it into dry dock, completely gutted the vessel, completely gutted the helm because it was on the main deck. We've raised it up and made underneath of that at the front now a big master stateroom.
Okay.
We've taken out all but 2 rooms that had bunk beds. So before all the rooms were bunk beds, right, except for one. We've taken all of them out except for 2 and that near the front of the boat, because as you know, as yachts go to the front, they get more narrow.
Right.
So just was not able to get adequate separate beds in there. So which is fine. Will be a lower cost room for people that might want to save a few bucks.
Sure.
And of course, same issues with supplies and parts, but we've got everything there on site at the dry dock, and they're putting it back together, buttoning it up, and we're hoping to be back in Cayman in October.
Okay.
Where we can do some sea trials and get the final touches and linens and dishes and food and all that put on board and be running charters by the end of November.
Okay, good. I know we're happy to get Cayman back, as our customers are as well. It's always been one of our not only a most popular destination Caribbean, but one of our most popular ones we've had for many years. And in fact, our first liveaboard ever, the Cayman Aggressor, the original one, was started.
That's
there.
Right. And that's the last destination that has not reopened.
Is that right? Okay, good. So then we're fully back open.
+1 because the Philippines is and the BVI is up. Philippines was really a destination before the pandemic. Unfortunately, they never got a charter under their belt.
Right.
So technically, it's a new destination for our customers because they've never been on it. But BVI is a +1 for us since then.
Okay, that sounds very good and strong. I'm happy to hear all that stuff, and I know our customers are as well. So you touched on Philippines. Let's go ahead and talk about that. I know that started just a couple of weeks ago. We do have a podcast coming out with Captain Tom Gebhardt, who is our reseller manager here at Aggressor Adventures, who just went on his trip, and you guys can keep your eye out for that. So give us a little bit of update on the Philippines.
Yeah, so I'm scheduled to go there next February, and watching all the videos I'm seeing coming back from each trip makes me really jealous because I've never seen a thresher shark, and they're seeing them quite frequently over there on the
Right,
trips.
right.
So really looking forward to that. They've had a lot of whale shark encounters, which are known for over there, plus all the little small pygmy seahorses and things that are there as well. So very exciting destination. It offers one of the few that we have that offers everything from whale sharks to and unique sharks like the thresher down to pygmy seahorses.
That's great. And Tom really raved about how good the food was.
Yeah, we've been getting some good services. Obviously, when we have a startup, no matter how much we train and trial before we start the first charter, there's always things we learn, and it takes a couple weeks to get things up and going. Luckily, we have plenty of guests that love to be early adopters and understand there's going to be a few hiccups on those first couple, but yeah, everything's running very smooth over there. Customers are extremely happy, and the food's good, and they all rave about not only the service but how much space there is on that yacht.
That's great. That's great. And yeah, that's the other thing I was about to touch on was how roomy and spacious it is. How many people are able to be on that?
24.
All right, that's awesome to hear about Philippines and exciting stuff. Let's talk about Guadalupe, our cage diving itinerary with the Squirt.
Yeah, so a lot of customers been asking what happened with that season. So last year they cut it off. This year, all the operators went to get their permits, and the government agency that runs that, in conjunction with the Army, together the Army and that agency decided they're not going to open the season this year. It's very frustrating because there was no mention of that prior to us getting our permit. You have to get a permit every year,
Right.
So we had, like every other operator, all of our customers that were reserved to go. We had to cancel them, unfortunately, because there's just no alternative. We're working with a couple of marine economists that put numbers and dollars to the value of tourism in marine animals.
Okay.
So they're putting dollar values on white sharks and how much it means to the economy there.
Wow.
And hopefully we can present that to the Minister of Tourism and the park authorities and show them what kind of dollar amount that they're missing out
on.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good to hear that might be coming back soon, but it's one of those things that sounds like a great thing, having the economists come in and do that study. We've got some really exciting news about Cuba and Oceans for Youth.
Yeah. So Cuba's been a great destination. Cuba's been a great destination for our people-to-people program. Unfortunately, with the change in our government, it changes what we can and can't do down in Cuba.
Right.
Cuba has no embargo on who can come in. I mean, they don't care. It's the U.S. that has had the rules preventing citizens from going down there for tourism. They still prevent you from going down there for tourism, but under Obama, they had relaxed the rules a little bit so that they kind of expanded the existing people-to-people program, so you could have a general license and make sure you certify that you're doing all the things that are required, and you could then run your program down there through a nonprofit, or a nonprofit could run it really is through a travel company such as us.
Right.
So Oceans for Youth has been in existence for over 20 years. And so part of the requirements with OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Control, who manages sanctions around the world, is that any nonprofit that is running these people-to-people program have to be in existence for more than 10 years. So the Oceans for Youth more than met that requirement.
Perfect.
And so they put together the people-to-people program, sent it to their attorney in Washington, D.C. that works with OFAC and sanctions around the world. They then went over to OFAC, reviewed the requirements, and certified that Oceans for Youth met all the legal requirements. So there was no issue with any citizen going down there and then coming back and getting in trouble, getting fined, which is a very expensive fine, or having other legal issues. So they then contracted with us since we're, obviously all over the Caribbean with liveaboards to manage a reservation system for them rather than trying to create a new one.
Okay.
So we've been doing that since day one. Years ago, the situation changed when President Trump came in and he tightened up the sanctions on Cuba a little bit. And so it disallowed those general licenses. And they were not allowing any specific licenses. So they told us don't even apply for one because it's not going to happen.
Okay.
So once that government changed in DC, they again relaxed the rules again. And Oceans for Youth recertified their general license, and we're now running the reservation system for them again. And customers are now able to go down there through the people to people and not only see the great ecosystem they have there because they've had almost 30 years of marine park protection down there,
Right.
but also do the people to people requirements of hearing about. From the marine scientists down there about all the programs that are being run and being able to talk to some of the locals and find out about life in Cuba and in exchange they can learn about life here in the U.S.
Right.
But diving down there, and I've dove all over the world. I've never been on dives where I've had, I don't know, 50, 60 reef sharks, gray reef sharks all around me. Just crazy the number of sea life down there, and have 5 or 6 huge Goliath groupers at the same time. I mean, it's really, they've done an amazing job for a country that you wouldn't expect to have such efforts put into marine park protection. But luckily, Fidel Castro was a huge scuba diver.
Really?
And so he was all for all the protections that they were putting in to save their marine parks. They've got the biggest gardens of elkhorn coral I've ever seen. I mean,
Really?
just as far as you can see, they have these elkhorn coral gardens down there. So just an amazing ecosystem.
Yeah, we really promote it as untouched diving because that's really what it's like. And can you tell us a little bit about the itineraries that we'll be offering down there?
Yeah, so there's 2. So Oceans View started out doing just the Gardens of the Queen, which is the most famous down there.
Known as Jardins de la Reina.
That's right.
To the locals.
That's right. And then to the west of that is a very similar marine ecosystem called Zapata. And and a lot of Americans might know it geographically more as the Bay of Pigs, because that's where the historical clash was with us and Cuba.
Okay.
Back in the Kennedy era. But that's where we come out of. We come out of the Bay of Pigs Bay and come out to that Zapata area and dive around there. And it's just amazing ecosystem, just like Gardens of the Queen.
And a lot of walls on the Zapata itinerary.
That's right.
Too, right.
That's right. A lot more walls there. There's also some not necessarily blue hole diving, but there's some very deep caverns that you can drop into. That's very dramatic.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, moving on, we do have another new liveaboard coming into the fleet, and it's the Raja Ampat Aggressor 2.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the original Raja Ampat Aggressor obviously did that amazing area in northern Indonesia, out of Sarong and the Darwin Islands. And unfortunately, that vessel was being regulated out of business. So the local regulations coming in to manage all the liveaboards up there, some of the engine and generator requirements were not going to be met for these new regulations. So it just so happened that during this pandemic phase, in transition, they were able to shut down the boat that was not meeting the new requirements, and then purchase this Raja Ampat Aggressor 2, which is the traditional Pinisi style Indonesia that most liveaboards adhere to over there.
Right. It looks very similar to the Indo Aggressor.
That's correct.
But it's got some green to it, right? It looks really cool. It's different than anything I've seen since I've been here.
Yeah, some of the people that have been over there, some of our customers also that have been up to that area a lot, It used to be the Tambora, so
Okay.
they're very familiar with it. Great boat, great layout,
Okay.
and most of our Raja Ampat staff return. So
Okay.
for our customers that have been there, they'll know that what the great service is that we offer there, and all the crew in Indonesia is just as friendly as nice and they can be,
Good.
and one uniqueness about the Raja Ampat Aggressor crew and staff is that they love music. They love to sing. They love to play their instruments.
Yeah.
And so if you encourage them and they know you're happy with it, even during every dive when you're out there getting your wetsuit on, they're back there singing and playing, and it's just a great festive atmosphere.
Yeah, they play a lot of their traditional songs there, but I heard on a recent trip that they performed Country Roads for their mostly American group that they had that week.
Nice, nice. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, me too. All right. Last one we have here to talk about as far as the new updates to the liveaboards is the Indo Aggressor is back.
Yep. So Indo Aggressor started back in July, and they've been having great marine encounters, like we know they like we expect, and know that they're going to have. Most of their staff came back also, and the owners went on along with our staff from operations, but the owners also went on board the first couple of trips, and they've had no issues with their startup, which is nice and been going well.
Okay. All right. Well, all that stuff is interesting and exciting to hear about the new updates there. Earlier when we started, you were talking about the difficulties that it's been with all of over the past 2 years. It's been, and we've been flipped upside down, and we still have managed to, get our liveaboards back. Some of them slower than others. But what have you learned from this experience? And what, no company can grow without, speed bumps and hiccups. It's a great opportunity to talk about, what you thought we've done and able to thrive through a difficult time.
So every company, or let's say every major invention has come from disruptions. It could either be like the pandemic, or it could be from another invention. So let's take an example of the iPhone. The iPhone came out of the disruption of the invention of the internet. So without the invention of the internet, the iPhone would never have been created or invented. Tesla is another good example. And so Tesla came out of the disruption of battery technology going from lead acid to lithium ion. So, Tesla didn't disrupt the whole car industry. They built on the invention of the disruption of the battery. So same thing with us. And so we have used this disruption to further, what we can do. So at all of our destinations, we worked on, we knew that, it wasn't a matter of when, but if we had an illness on board. And so going forward, it doesn't matter if it's a pathogen like we've seen in a virus, or something as simple as a cold. What can we do going forward to make sure we have the right protocols in place?
Right.
So, we started with cleaning supplies. Just because it's a brand name and everybody uses it, is that the right one? Maybe that's not the right one that is the best at our destinations.
Or most eco-friendly.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So we broke all that down to ingredients, did the research, what's going to be the best thing to use, and then built that back up to what's available in every destination, because brand names are not available around the world.
Right.
So we now have all that in place to make sure we have the best cleaning and sanitizing chemicals and supplies and processes that we'll continue to use and update forever. We also went into not only our services a possible spread of a pathogen, but airborne is just as bad. So we found UV lights that we could put in all of our AC systems, all of our air conditioning systems, that kills 99.9% of every pathogen that's airborne.
Okay.
So now we've not only got the surfaces clean, now we've got the air as clean as possible.
Okay.
So those are things that we learned that and improved upon, that we might not have had we not been through this process. The other interesting part of this is we actually come out with better service ideas. So as an example, one of the things we did was nitrox testing. So typically every customer grabs a Nitrox analyzer and they go to their tank and they test it and then they hand it to the next person, hand it to the next person. We were concerned about handing that Nitrox analyzer around to everybody. So we said, okay, we're going to have one of our staff member, they can sanitize their hands, sanitize the Nitrox analyzer, and then test each tank themselves and show the customer what the percentage is.
Yeah.
Well, we realized quickly that that was just a great service at doing a concierge Nitrox analyzing for our customers.
All right. Yeah.
So we've added that as a service that we can do for our customers. That was born out of some other reason, but a great idea to add to the 5-star service that we deliver to everybody.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So we do have one more boat to talk about that some people may not have heard of yet. That Cocos Island is getting a new yacht over there. It's going to be the Cocos Island Aggressor.
Yep. So the owners of the Okeanos 1 and 2 have been working for a couple of years now to upgrade one of their vessels, and looking at upgrading the Okeanos 1 just was not going to be feasible. I mean, it's just a lot of these vessels, they're very unique layout, and they're just almost impractical, or from a cost standpoint, just doesn't work to try to gut it and start over.
Okay.
So we get inquiries all the time for vessels for sale. So I let them know about a vessel that was in early stages of construction over in Egypt, where hundreds and hundreds of liveaboards are built.
Okay.
A big steel vessel. They went over and looked at it, and were able to negotiate a purchase of it. It's going to be a huge, beautiful, modern vessel. I mean, it's just an amazing addition. So that will replace the Okeanos 1. So we're trying to get back to not be so confusing sometimes with naming vessels. So don't try to over-engineer it. Just, Okeanos is nice because it's the river that runs around the world in mythology, but I'm not sure how many people remember that, or maybe know that.
Right.
So let's just get back to the basics, and if we call it Cocos Island Aggressor, they know exactly what that is and where it goes.
Keeping it simple.
So it is complete. It is leaving Egypt on its way to actually to Italy, where it's going to be put on a shipping ship where they ship other ships. So it'll be put on there, shipped over to Florida, where it'll be unloaded, and then they'll drive it from there through the Panama Canal around to Costa Rica.
Wow. I'm not assuming that's the Amazon Prime deal there, huh?
Yeah, no.
That's very interesting. I'd like to see that. But okay, well, that sounds very exciting. I know the team over there in Cocos Island does a great job. It's been one of our very exciting destinations. One other thing that we haven't talked about yet is actually the Aggressor Floating Resorts. It's a new brand that Aggressor Adventures is going to have. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so let me step back first and talk about Aggressor Adventures. So, Aggressor Fleet started in 1984 as a pure liveaboard company, which was great. When I bought it in 2007, I wanted to expand a potential customer base. So rather than just having scuba divers, let's see, how if we can expand outside of that into more adventurous customers. So we started the safari lodges, we started the river cruises, and rebranded it Aggressor Adventures. And then we had the sub brands. So we had the sub brand of Aggressor Liveaboards, Aggressor Safari Lodges, Aggressor River Cruises. Well, expanding on that, we added and have added, which will start next March, the Aggressor Floating Resort brand.
Awesome.
So the idea is that you have people that want to maybe do some scuba diving, but they don't want to dive all week and be out on a yacht all week. Maybe they're just a snorkeler, or maybe they like beach combing, or maybe they just want to be have a yacht for the home for the week. And so we decided to do the first one in Egypt because that's really Europe's Caribbean, if you want to say it that way. So they come down there all the time for a week, and they want to do a lot of different things. So we've set this up to where every day you're going to pick what you want to do. Do you want to go scuba diving? Do you want to go snorkeling, beach combing? You want to go shopping at the local bazaars? You want to hang out at the pool? So we're going to be in a marina at one of the big resorts down there. So you have access, because we'll have a partnership with that resort. Have access to the pool, to the restaurants. And so you can kind of pick what you want to do. You want to go banana boat riding, you want to go parasailing. I mean, there's so many things you can do that we offer every day.
You can really customize your trip that way. You can do a lot of different things, huh?
Exactly. I did one of these, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, up in northern British Columbia. And so every evening they'd come around with a sheet and say, what do you want to do tomorrow? And so it was just, I thought it was just an amazing idea. And it's always been in the back of my head. So, up there, I could pick salmon fishing, I could pick helicopter ride, I could pick kayaking, mountain hiking. I mean, there's all these different things. So it's always been in the back of my head that, what a great idea that was. And it was a floating resort. Now, it wasn't a yacht. It was just a floating resort that, they moved in and out of the water in the winter and summer.
Right.
But same concept that, come down to our floating resort, have a yacht as your home for the week rather than a hotel room, and pick what you want to do every day.
All right. That sounds awesome. Is there anything else you want to discuss or?
No, I'm just glad that, we're most of us feel like we've gotten through the worst of the pandemic and things are getting back to somewhat normal. So if, we can get supply chains back up and running, I feel like we're back to 2019.
Okay, that's what we all want to be. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming in. Wayne, thank you for briefing us on all the updates here with everything to do with Aggressor Adventures. And I hope you guys learned something today. I know I sure did, and we are excited all the way around. And hopefully we'll be seeing you guys on one of our exciting adventures here soon. So thanks for coming in, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, Cole.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Inspired by Adventure podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you haven't already, please subscribe through iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. See you next time.